Introducing Sardine Man. Hi, I am Kait Buchbaum. I am an archive cataloger at the National Railway Museum. We are here to talk about the Campaign for Better Transport collection, which is an archive that we acquired in 2018 and will be cataloging this year. The collection comprises of a variety of materials, protest documentation to research publications, photos, videos, all sorts of material documenting the long and rich history of the Campaign for Better Transport. The Campaign for Better Transport is an organization that started in 1973. It was founded by Sidney Weil, who is the Deputy Secretary of the National Union of Railwaymen. He founded it in collaboration with members of the Civic Trust, the Conservation Society, and the Council for the Preservation of Rural England, under the name Transport 2000, which is said to have been inspired by the organization York 2000, which was created in 1971 to protest the building of a ring road around the York Historic City Centre. The Campaign for Better Transport advocated on a variety of transport topics, including air, roads, rail, buses, and trams. And today we'll be looking at some of the stunts they organized around railways. Okay, so the first event I'd like to talk about is a jazz funeral that was hosted in 2001. To understand it a little bit more, we'll need to go back to the early 1990s.
The message from this conference is clear and simple. We must go back to basics.
And the creation of the Railways Act 1993. Now, this act meant that the British Railways Board was dissolved and its roles distributed across various organizations for things like signaling, infrastructure, actual requirements of the railways, and its maintenance. The infrastructure was administered by Railtrack, which was formed in 1994. By the time of the early 2000s and 2001 in particular, it was sort of seeing its end. And what better way to sort of metabolize the end of Railtrack than to host its funeral? So that exactly is what Transport 2000 did. They hosted a jazz funeral. And now a jazz funeral is a traditional sort of New Orleans ceremony. It's part of the cultural tradition there that is sort of grounded in the use of military-style brass bands dating way back to the early 18th century and the founding of New Orleans and its military presence there, being influenced as well by the sort of West African spiritual traditions of the people who were enslaved in New Orleans and in Louisiana, as well as the indigenous tribes in that area, such as the Chitimacha, Atacapa, Homa, and Caddo tribes. And in 2001, on December 13th, New Orleans came to London. And what that meant was that members of then Transport 2000 gathered at Victoria Station in London with a variety of mourners and fellow campaigners from other groups. So here you can see Friends of the Earth was one of the campaign groups that was present on the day. There was a sort of group of brass band individuals who were playing. There is the symbolic coffin, which reads Private Rail RIP. and then the umbrella, which says put passengers first. And then they paraded to Bressenden Place, which is where the Department of Transport, local governments, and the regions was based. And in this picture, you can actually see the location at the front of DTLR. They arrived at Bressenden Place at 9 a.m. in the morning, read the will of Railtrack, the last will and testament, which we actually have here. I do hereby bequeath to the passengers of the United Kingdom my entire estate, value as yet unknown, to be invested in creating a railway that is modern and efficient, integrated, reliable, open to all, high quality, accountable, safe, affordable, and comprehensive. There's more text to it, but these are the sort of main tenets. So after they read the last will and testament, the members of these groups went into a meeting with the Secretary of Transport at the time, who was Stephen Byers. The main motto that they were trying to convey is, with the end of Railtrack, it was a good opportunity to kind of move into a not-for-profit format. And they actually got it in the end in the form of Network Rail, which is still operational today as a not-for-profit entity. Introducing Sardine Man. In 2007, the way that people were using different modes of transport was changing. The transport demand was changing as well, and it was growing. And that was reflected in the investment in air travel and road travel, which were sort of growing quite a lot. But it wasn't reflected in the investment in rail travel, which meant that there were quite a few carriages that weren't being used, that might have been used in different circumstances, and this contributed to a sort of widespread overcrowding.
Get the train every day, never get a seat, maybe get a seat once every 50 odd journeys.
It's very normal, it's depressingly normal. This particular time bracket is consistently like this. I think all the peak rush hour trains between Reading and Paddington, Paddington and Reading are very similar. Not quite sure why.
Quite often the train doesn't run to time, so a 25 or half an hour journey, sometimes a lot longer, or 10, 15 minutes longer than that.
The Campaign for Better Transport performed a lot of research. They went to sort of passenger transport executives, they went to different rail user groups around the country, and they attempted to collect a list of the 10 most overcrowded train lines in England and Wales.
From the research we've done, we found horrendous overcrowding on some lines, not just anecdotally, but from some of the statistics collected by local authorities and by the government itself. We want to see that overcrowding addressed so that railways become a more attractive alternative for road transport.
The Campaign for Better Transport then commissioned a guy in a sardine costume to ride these lines.
Transport 2000 is launching today a Sardine Man campaign, and over the next couple of weeks, Sardine Man here will be touring the country, highlighting these overcrowded trains and getting people to write to their MP demanding action for an expanding railway rather than a contracting and overpriced one.
So Sardine Man would ride the line. He would hand out a business card where people could be directed to the Sardine Man website. While the Sardine Man website is no longer in operation today, we still do have all of the traces of that website through these printouts, which a member of the Campaign for Better Transport decided to print out and save at the time. And while that is not necessarily something that you would think to do in your everyday life, we're really grateful for that, because now we have the sort of the voice of Sardine Man. And while maybe the identity of Sardine Man is unknown, we do still have the traces of his existence, and that's a really exciting thing about this archive. So we have kind of the main page, the home page, which you turn to. You have a photograph of the excellent Sardine Man, and then you have kind of links to the different lines. You also have some of the blog posts that Sardine Man wrote, so I would like to sort of share that with you today. Today I'm on Merseyside. I'm on the 753 from Eccleston Park to Liverpool Lime Street. Scousers are a proud lot, and it's sad to see them suffer the indignity of this cod-forsaken train. Easily the crummiest, crappiest, most ancient pile of bolts I've been on so far. I attempt to squeeze my way down the carriage. That old Doris Day number, Move Over Marlin, springs to mind. Except no one can move anywhere. This train's packed tighter than the Department for Transport's wallet. So as I said, the identity of Sardine Man is unknown, but I think that's even better because it kind of draws attention to the idea that Sardine Man is actually all of us. All of us experience overcrowding in trains. Having an actual sardine on your train makes you realize that it is sort of a more collective, systemic issue that needs to be addressed. And if you are maybe one of the people who was packed in with Sardine Man on these trains, we would love to hear from you in the comments. Mystic Peg. We like Mystic Peg. Mystic Peg was invented in order to draw attention to another passenger issue, which was walk-on rail fares. In 2008, the average cost of a walk-on rail fare was 4.7 times the price of an advanced single ticket. So in July 2008, Mystic Peg was dispatched to Liverpool Street Station in London, where she set up a table with her massive crystal ball. She was wearing flowing skirts and had a red head covering, drawing on this well-known TV and newspaper personality, Mystic Meg.
Mars, the planet of victory, brings special luck for Leo and Aries and friends who play football together.
She invited members of the public and passengers at the station to predict the rail fares for the day, which of course, as we know, is quite impossible to know how expensive a walk-on rail fare is. It would have been about 150,000 people passing through Liverpool Street Station that day. She would have been able to draw a lot of attention, as it was something that was maybe unusual or unexpected, and maybe a little absurd. So whereas Sardine Man took about 10 trips, Mystic Peg only came out for that one day. So while the individual impact of Mystic Peg's efforts were lesser known, the Campaign for Better Transport also involved itself in a variety of sort of fare advocacy events and campaigns, including Fair Fares Now and the rail card campaigns to sort of draw attention to rail fares as a significant issue that passengers face in their everyday lives. So while today we've discussed a variety of stunts that are quite lighthearted, the issues that they are drawing attention to are very real and they are very serious, and that is why it's such an important collection to explore, because it is delving into a topic that affects people in their everyday lives. It touches them every day through their daily commutes, through their everyday experiences, meeting friends, visiting family. Collecting that history and ensuring that it's preserved is what makes this collection so exciting to have been acquired and to be cataloging this year. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe.